Welcome back to A Minute with Mom TV. I'm your host, Tamara Johnson. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and coming to spend some time with little old me. How are you guys doing? How's 2024 treating you so far? We are on what I believe is the fourth day, or is it the fifth day? No, it's the fourth day. I was right. We are on the fourth day of January. And how is your January going? How are you all doing in 2024? I pray that you all are blessed and in good health, and that this video finds you doing well. So, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, there's something that I need for you to do. I need you to click on that subscribe button. Yes, go ahead. I'll wait. Click that subscribe button, and then also click the notification bell so that you can know when I upload my next video. That way you can keep track of what I'm doing, and I can know what you're doing if you choose to let me know in the comments, and we'll be knowing. Okay. All right. So what am I talking about in this video? First of all, do you like my shirt? It's joyful. It's a okay, so side note, before we get into the things, because let's be a little foolish, right? I like graphic stuff, but here is my issue with graphic anything. I need to wear it all throughout the year. So when Christmas came around and I saw this, I was like, this is perfect, because you're not just joyful at Christmas. At least I hope you're not. I hope that you are not a Grinch 364 days of the year and then suddenly you're joyful on Christmas Day. What are you doing with your life? No, I want to be joyful every day. So this gave me Christmas, but it also gave me every stinking day. What a wonderful reminder to fix my face, because to know me is to know that sometimes my thoughts escape onto my face in a particular situation or any given day, and you'll be able to see my whole thought process displayed right here. And so it's not always a cute expression. So I figured this shirt will remind me to be joyful. Okay, enough of the foolishness. What are we talking about today? Today we're talking about living in full bloom. And what does that look like? What does that look like for me? What does that look like for you? So let's jump right into this topic. This might be a part one and a part two. I'm still kind of fleshing that out a little bit, because as I was preparing my notes, I felt like there should be a part two. So for today, we're going to talk about part one, which is the phases that you go through in a blooming cycle, okay? And it's made up of 3 different parts. But I want to open us up with our main scripture. And our main scripture is taken from Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1. And it says, "For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven." For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven. What does that mean? Well, that means if you're talking about a life cycle, if you're talking about a cyclical phase of some sorts, it means that the same thing is not always occurring at the same time. It goes through cycles, okay? If you're a female, you know this very well, because we have what? A cycle. And she comes every month, most of the time, for most of us. Some of us, like myself, is questionable, but when she comes, we know she's here. Okay, y'all know what I'm talking about. All right, so for everything there is a season, a time for every activity under the sun. I almost had it memorized. So the best way that I can kind of give you the picture of what this looks like is to talk to you about my roses. So as you can see, I have a few plants here. These obviously are not roses. These are the, what are these called? The snake plants, right? And I'm not a horticulture expert of any kind. I'm surprised that these things are still alive, because I don't do well with growing things that are not human, okay, or animal. If it's a plant form, I'm most likely going to kill it. So the fact that I've had these for about a year now, I'm blown away. And I have a few others up there too, but you can't see those. I don't know anything. I said all that to say I'm not an expert, okay? I don't know anything about how things work, but I have made some observations in nature through my kitchen window. And so in my backyard, I have about 6 rose bushes, and they're all different colors and they're beautiful. And I just get so excited when I see them blossom. And I get a little sad when the leaves fall off and they appear to grow dormant. And one day I was talking with my husband and I was looking at my girls and I was like, wow, they're growing up. They are transitioning from late teens to early adulthood, and from young adulthood to mid adulthood. Like, everybody's just transitioning and moving into the next phase of life. They are going after their dreams, pursuing their desires, and it's just a beautiful thing to watch them grow and develop. And I kind of got in my feelings a little bit because, I'm mom and I've been with them the majority, well, their whole life. I've been an active participant in their lives. And so I started kind of feeling like, wow, to see them no longer need me to that degree or in that capacity. They still need me, but not to that capacity. I was like, oh my gosh, my babies. They're not babies anymore. They're young women. And yes, I have a toddler, so I'm not completely, done yet, but I was still a mom to the first 3. And so I wasn't expecting that I was going to feel the feels of them moving towards leaving the nest. And it is a very sobering feeling. And that kind of led me down a little bit of a rabbit hole of, I'm not needed in that capacity anymore. So what does that mean for my life? Like, what's next? I know I'm still raising my toddler who's 3 years old. So we know we're still wearing the mommy hat for quite a while. But being a mom of 1 is not the same as being the mom of 3, which is not the same as being a mom of 4, much less being a mom of 4 and they're all in different ages and stages. Okay. So I'm constantly switching and taking off and putting on different hats for depending on which child that I'm dealing with. But it still got me right here because I felt like my purpose was kind of like not diminished, but like no longer needed. And so I was like, oh gosh, my children are blooming, but what's going on with me and what's to come next for me in the next phase of my life? And it just kind of got me down a little bit. And then my husband was like, no, I think that you're still blooming. It's just not active right now. So then that got me thinking about my roses and what I've noticed and observed in nature with any type of blooming flower, right? So if you are a horticulture expert or person who loves plants, you already know this, that they go through a phase. And so for the purpose of this video, I don't know which phase comes first. It's a chicken or the egg situation. Does it go dormant first and then it blooms? I don't know. It buds, blooms, whatever. But I'm going to tell you the order that I think that it goes in for the intent and purpose of this. I notice my roses go through 3 phases. They are dormant, then they bud, and then they bloom. And it's the same process in a secular phase all throughout the year. And so I did a little Google schmoogle so I could get a better understanding of what happens to the plant when it's in the dormant phase. Because on the surface, to me, there's nothing going on. They're just plants and they don't have any roses that are blooming on them, and they're green and they're just there. What I found fascinating is that during their phase of not blooming, they're still growing. And so the leaves surrounding where the roses would emerge from, they're lush and they're green. So it's not dead, it's doing something. But I needed a better understanding of like what happens during the winter months, because they don't usually bloom during the winter. And I live in Southern California for point of reference. Okay. Maybe if I were in a more warmer tropical climate, then they might still be blooming. But where I live, they don't bloom in the winter. So I went on to plantsbymail.com just so that I could be armed with a little bit of knowledge, because knowledge is power. So corny. What happens during the dormant phase? So during the dormant phase, according to plantsbymail.com, the stem cells secrete sap, right? And the sap thickens to make the plant more hardy for the winter. So I'm taking that to mean that it kind of insulates itself to prepare for the cold winter months. And that's pretty much what's going on when I don't see any flowers blooming during the winter. Now, I don't know necessarily what's going on after the flowers fall off in the summertime. I'm presuming that it's regenerating itself. We just gonna go with that, okay? Because we don't know. But I looked at that and I was like, that's applicable to life. That right there is applicable, because what I read and what I ascertained from that one little piece of information is that preparation. In the dormant phase, there's preparation that is going on. The plant is preparing for the cold. So let's apply that to our lives. We might find ourselves in a stage or phase of dormancy where there's not really much going on in our life. The kids are fine, the children are fine, the health is fine, everything is fine, but you're not really productive. You're just kind of going about your life and you are doing your normal daily routines, and there's really not much happening. I would like to submit that in this phase, we could capitalize on that moment. And the way that we could do that is that we can prepare ourselves for the next phase. And while we may not know what that exactly entails or what that is going to be, there are still some actionable items that we can take to further along our growth and development. So what can we do in our dormant phase? Well, we can take classes, we can read books, we can explore new hobbies, we can learn a new skill, we can sharpen our existing skills. So that would look like, maybe if you're a YouTuber, like take some editing classes, take some classes on, how to better develop your content, things like that. If you are in the professional field, you can take some continuing education classes, maybe go for that master's degree or go for that doctorate degree, maybe go for a degree. Whatever it is that you feel led to do and you feel a pull towards, use that time and that stage of life to prepare for what could be possibly coming next, or something that you've always wanted to do but never had the time. Capitalize on the moment and get yourself prepared for the next phase of life. What comes after the dormant phase? It's the budding phase. So back to the rose bushes. When I look at the rose bushes at a certain point in the year, after a while, I see that they're budding. And literally, to me, it feels like an overnight process. But I know that it's not. I know that during the dormant phase, all of this preparation was going on internally for the moment when that first bud begins to appear. And that's when I start to get excited. And even though I already know what it's going to produce, what colors are going to come of it, I still feel like each time my rose bushes produce these beautiful roses, they're more beautiful than the first batch that came. Maybe it's just me, but I just enjoy them. So each time they bud, I get so excited because I know what's coming. I know what is about to happen. And so let's apply that to life, okay? So let's say you've taken the courses, you've done the work, you've invested in yourself, you've done the self-care, you've, stayed with your diet and exercise plan or nutrition. I don't like the word diet, nutrition plan. You've stayed the course with whatever it is that you have put all your effort into during the dormancy phase. And now you're starting to see results. Now your work, your hard work is starting to pay off, and it's an exciting time. But I want to caution you, okay? In the budding phase, it can be very, very tempting and easy for you to force bloom your flower, okay? You don't want to do that. What do I mean by force blooming? Okay, so if I were to go outside on the first sight of a rosebud and try to pry it open in anticipation of seeing this beautiful rose, I'm not going to get a beautiful rose. Why? Because the rose still needs time to mature and grow in the budding phase. And just because I see the bud does not mean that it's ready to bloom. It means that yes, all of the preparation has taken place and it's starting to form. And so we don't want to force ourselves when we're in the budding phase. We might be excited about the results, but the work is not yet complete. So I just want to caution you, if you're in that phase, I know it can be tempting to be like, hey, it's time to celebrate. Not quite. Pump your brakes, sis. Okay. It's not time yet. Slow yourself down. You're still learning. You're still growing. You have not mastered the skill yet. You have not mastered the routine yet. You're just seeing evidence that it's working in your favor, but it is not time to launch that business yet. Don't do it. Everything is not lined up. I mean, if you pay attention to nature, it'll preach a whole message to you, because how many times have I ventured into something, got excited, and put the cart before the horse? Are you guilty? I'm guilty. I've done it. I've done it. I've done it. I've done it in baking. I've done it in learning how to do my own nails. I've done it in anything, any skill that I'm learning. I've done it. Now, you would think that experience of doing this over a period of time would teach me not to do that. But sometimes we can get impatient. And the whole point that I'm trying to make is, don't let your excitement for what you see happening cause you to prematurely open up your bloom before it's time. Because what would happen if I opened that bloom? I'm probably going to damage the flower, or I'm going to kill the flower. Okay? Let me make it make more sense to you. If you are in the budding phase, this is not the time to advertise, okay? This is not the time to let the whole world know, hey, I'm doing XYZ because I'm going to double down on this. Everything happens in its time. There's a time. We just read it in the Bible. There is a time and a season for everything under heaven, okay? And in real talk, not everybody that is around you, in your circle, in your environment, is wanting you to succeed. There are some people who are wanting you to fail. So you only give them information on a need-to-know basis. Everybody don't need to know your business. Everybody doesn't need to know that you're developing a business. Everyone doesn't need to know about your next business idea, your next product you're launching, or anything. Do not prematurely launch anything before it's time. Make sure that you have thoroughly and properly and meticulously planned that thing out before you launch, so that you have a successful launch, okay? This can apply to any area of your life. You want to make sure that you are sharpening your skills. So in the budding phase, you're actually putting into practice all the things that you have been learning and growing in during the preparation phase. So you took the class, you got the certification, but maybe you're not quite ready to launch into your business yet. So you're practicing what you've learned. You're putting into practice all the things that you have learned, okay? Number 3, it's time to bloom. Yes, finally, it is time to launch the thing. It is time to stand back and admire your hard work and all your efforts, and really have an appreciation for the skill that you have developed, the thing that you have been working on for so long. And the blooming phase is such a wonderful phase to be in. It feels great. I would encourage you to be present in the blooming phase. Be present in the moment, because it doesn't last forever. And you know that since we're talking in a cycle, you know what's coming next, right? So enjoy the blooming phase while it lasts. Let your petals unfold. Allow everyone to see and appreciate and celebrate your hard work. But also, what can happen in the blooming phase is this is also your time to sow your seeds, right? So, also, what I learned in my research online, and I forgot to notate where I got this information from, but I Googled it. So, this is not my personal information. What also happens once a flower blooms is it's time to pollinate, right? And that's when the bees come and they do their thing and the birds and whatnot. But also the wind will come and blow on the plant and scatter the seeds. Okay. And so this is how you put more seeds out there. So what does that look like in our life? So this is where you pay it forward. Okay. You want to sow seeds into somebody else. I'm pretty sure if I know cycles like I think I do, and if I know how the law of reciprocity works, is somebody had to pour that knowledge and that skill and that information into you for you to get it. So because they're bloomed. So now that you have bloomed, now is your opportunity to pour into that next person that might be in their dormancy phase. Do you see where I'm going with this? Okay. Pour into the next person that is on their journey, because you didn't get here by yourself. Yes, you had to do the work. Yes, you had to put some effort and some muscle behind it. But chances are you didn't just end up here all by yourself. Somebody had to help you get there. So this is the time and the opportunity for you to pay it forward and to sow your seeds into somebody else. And it is a wonderful feeling to be able to do that for someone else and to cheer them on. That's all I have, really. That is the cyclical phase of living your life in full bloom. Is that understanding that you're not going to always be blooming. You're not going to always be producing, but it doesn't mean that you don't do anything in those times. You capitalize on those moments. And if you're in that phase of dormancy, this is your information gathering time. This is your schooling. This is your time to get the information that you need. This is the time where you kind of figure out and decide what it is that you would like to do, what you want to do, what direction you want to go in. And then you're going to move into your budding phase where you're putting what you've learned and what you've prepared into practice, but it's not quite time to launch yet, but you're practicing, you're honing in those skills and you're perfecting the skill that you have learned. And then you bloom and you sow and you spread your seed and you share it with the world, only to go right back into your next phase of dormancy where you begin to prepare again. And this is a great way that we can really think about how we move through life and the different stages that life takes us through. Use every moment of life. Look at nature. It tells us literally what to do. Things that I want you to consider, okay? Number one, what's your environment? Because in order for any of this to take place, you need to make sure that you're in the right environment that will allow you to bloom. So what are the contents of your soil? What is in your soil? Who are the people around you? Are you around people that are conducive to your learning? Are you around people that are conducive to your growth and development? Are you around people that will encourage that in you? Because if you're not, they could possibly hinder your growth and development. Remember, I said earlier, not everybody around you is for you. Not everybody that is cheering for your success. Some people are cheering for you to fail. So you want to consider that. Number two, you need the right nutrients in your soil in order for you to produce. So you want to pay attention to what goes in, because what goes in goes out. So make sure that whatever it is that you are investing in, whatever it is that you're putting your time and attention to, it's actually going to help you and not hinder you. What does that look like? So if you are in the dormancy phase, instead of scrolling aimlessly on social media, just looking at entertainment and useless content that is not really enriching your life, okay? I'm not throwing any shade, but let's just be honest. Not everything on social media is fit for consumption, okay? Not everything on social media is conducive to our growth and development. Some of it is just plain foolery, okay? Instead of getting caught in the death scroll, we all have been there, myself included. Get off of that and go read a book. Go learn a new skill. Go do something that is going to edify and enrich and make you better, okay? Number 3, you need the right condition in order to continue to bloom, okay? And you need the right conditions to bloom. So, like I said, if you force the bloom open, you could possibly damage the flower or kill it. If you force yourself into a particular season before you're ready, you could forfeit that whole situation and you'll have to begin again. It could end disastrously for you. So you want to make sure that you're in the right condition and the conditions are ripe for blooming. And number 4, lastly, and then we can go. Don't compare your bloom to anybody else's, okay? Understand that your bloom is your bloom, okay? And it is just as equally beautiful as the bloom sitting beside you. When I look at those roses, they're not looking over at the other colors saying, oh, dang, I wish I was as vibrant as her. Oh, my goodness, she is so pretty. I wish I was that color. No, if that rose is coral, it's proudly coral. If that rose is red, it's proudly red. If that rose is lilac, it's proudly lilac. It is not concerned with the color beside it. So you shouldn't be concerned with anybody else's bloom but your own. You bloom where you are planted. You hold the ground and you take up the space where you are, because that's where you're supposed to be. Comparison is the thief of joy. And that's what can make you not joyful. Hello, wore this shirt for a reason. That's what could make you not joyful in your season of bloom, is if you're standing there. Imagine that you have put in all the time and the effort and the work. You have crafted things. You have honed in your skill only to stand in that space and compare yourself to somebody else. Stop it. Don't do that. Do not rob yourself of the joy of your full bloom by comparing yourself to others. Stand up in your space, celebrate, take up that space. You did a great job. You did a wonderful thing. Bloom, okay? Enjoy the blooming season. I hope that you found this content helpful, useful. I hope that you were able to glean from it. And you know what I'm going to tell you. I love you. You are loved and God loves you more. And I hope that you come back here for the next video. Until the next one, bye.